Just strap in and get ready.
The leaders in AFL SuperCoach are incoming, helping you win your leagues and climb up the rankings.
You're now listening to the Insight AFL Show with your hosts, Big Horse and Skitty.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Insight AFL Show. I'm your host, The Horse, and with me this evening is the man known as Hurls in the SuperCoach community, but more importantly, he gave the top prize a bit of a nudge last year, and we're wanting to show the people at home how you're going to structure up. But first of all, welcome, Hurls.
Thanks, Horse. Good to be here. I think you're over-exaggerating a little bit. I was nowhere near the top, but I did get to 32nd at one stage after the buys, so before it all came crashing down. Looking forward to sharing the team tonight, and more importantly, the strategy behind it, because I think the players, everyone's got similar players at this time of year, but there's a little bit of nuance around how you pick different things and how I play the game anyway.
Yeah, 100%, mate. And the boys are getting stuck into us a little bit. Deadly reckons we can't get away with being 2 minutes late. And Skits fits after our little thing the other night about scheduling the program for a different night. He's just said nice of us to join him. So thanks, mate. I appreciate it. You've got something coming to you in the mail too, mate. 2 thumbs up and a smile, courtesy of the Horse. But anyway, what we're talking about tonight is your team, Hurls. So we've, as Global says in the chat, he's been dually moving around a lot of people in his team, and you and I are both the same, but I think the structures stay the same most importantly. Before we get stuck into your team, do you want to talk us through a specific structure that you're trying to stick to, or how you're going about putting your side together?
Yeah, definitely. So there's a couple of things that you'll notice if you have a look through the team, and the first thing you should notice at the top of the screen is, and this is something I did last year and it worked really well. It might not this year, but I'm going to go with it again. I'm keeping a little bit of cash in the bank, so I'm not spending all of my 10 mil. At this stage, I've got 150K left, and I'll explain what my plans are for that in the first 2 weeks of correctional trades. So I've got a little bit of a theory about the way I'm going to go about it, but I think most of us this year are taking more risk than we normally would as coaches. So there's a few more mid prices that we're carrying. It's a little less guns and rooks this year and a little bit more guns and mid prices and then rooks balancing out the rest. So that cash, I think, is going to come in really handy. So that's one part of my strategy. The other thing is, as a structural kind of thing, I'm pretty locked in now to 4 defensive rookies. I'm comfortable with that. I'm going to go, as you'll see as I scroll down, there's 6 midfield rookies and there's 4 forward rookies. So I think that's my 14 rookies and where I've placed them, and many other people might put them in different spots. I think that's the first thing I like to work through is, where am I going to put my rookies, because that helps me then decide where am I going with my premiums, etc. And so that's the path I've chosen.
For sure. A couple of weeks ago, Hurls, people were speaking, not just on social media, but in chat groups, all that sort of stuff, about the lack of rookie options that we had to start the year in defence. Since then, we've had Patton. He scored a nice 67 against the Hawks last week. Leake scored 60-odd. I'm not sure on his job security. But then we've got Luke Traynor, who's going to debut for Richmond this week. We've got Jackson Pryor, who's going to debut for Essendon this week. We've always had Zach Reid. All of a sudden, we have options. So for people that were going 5 or 6 deep in their back line because of the unavailability of any sort of rookies to provide cash for us or scores, it's now going the other way. And there are players that we could potentially play in order to beef up other lines.
Yeah, I think at one point I did go 5 deep, and I'd be lying if I said I hadn't tinkered with that idea. But I've always wanted to go 4 deep and have 4 rookies. And so I think today, when Jackson Pryor was named, which as Essendon fans, we probably all thought that would happen, I think they recruited him to the club for a reason. He's going to be in the 22 most weeks. So I feel we've got enough job security with the 2 Essendon blokes to then, go, all right, well, Patton, I don't know about his job security. It might be all right for a little while. And Trainer, I was impressed with what I saw. So he's obviously got some sub risk and all of that kind of stuff. I've chosen to eliminate Leak from my thinking because I just don't think he has the job security. So the other one that I did tinker with. I think the Bulldogs bloke Cleary is a good pick if he gets games. So that's another one. And the teams aren't out yet, so you could easily sort of change the rookies. Let's be honest. But I'm certainly much more set on 4 now than I was at any stage of the preseason.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will be doing a live tomorrow night previewing round 1. So by then we will have some teams to talk through, and we will be giving you our thoughts and analysis on the other teams that may not have released their teams, but how they're going to structure up and the players that you're going to want to target this week. More importantly, or not more importantly, it's probably equal as importantly as Supercoach Mate, but in the top right-hand corner, it's cut off, but there's less than 2 days to go until the footy starts.
I know, how good is it? I mean, we had a little taste last week, but we've got 9 games now. We can sit back and watch a few games of footy. It's bloody fantastic.
Isn't it? Mate, let's start off the top. D1, Sheasel. What more can you say?
Yeah, speaks for himself. I think D1 speaks for himself, and I think now that Brisbane don't have the bye, D2 also speaks for himself. He might cop the James Jordan tag for a little while this week. That's certainly a possibility. Yeah. But the good thing with Azorko is if Sydney kick 15 behinds, he's getting 15 touches, right? So the tag can't stop kick-ins. And so you'll see in my structure, I toyed with the idea of both Zorko and Neil. They have a beautiful run. I've chosen just one of them, and Zorko's made the cut and Neil hasn't for the starting squad.
Yeah, right. You liked Matty Robertson's game last week?
Yeah. Roberts and Perryman, I think, I like Short as well for anyone thinking about the 3 mid-prices. I like all 3 of them, but I've settled on Roberts and Perryman as my 2. I think Roberts is going to be the main distributor out of the back half for Sydney, even though he doesn't have kick-ins, which is usually what I like to see out of that distributor role. I think Blakey kicked half of his kick-ins to Roberts anyway. So it sort of was almost half mitigated by that fact. He was the one that's always using the ball out of the back half, and Perryman's role is there. He's M2 for the Pies at the moment. He did sort of get moved out of the centre bounce a little bit in that last quarter when they every soldier. Yeah, he was cramping. Every man was going down. And so he moved out of there a little bit, but I don't have any fears about that. He'll be back into the centre this week. So he's been locked in my team for a fair while.
Yeah, gotcha. For anyone that's sending questions through, we will address them towards the latter end of the show. Jackson Pryor, Zach Reid. Be probably pretty safe to say that they could average 65, both of them.
Yeah.
And it's just they're cash generators, aren't they?
Yeah, that's about all I'm expecting from these 2 spots. If I can get, 65 each, and because they play for the same team, you might get a spike out of one of them one week, right? So I'm not expecting much more than that though. But I think they've got safe job security. I think they're in Essendon's back 7 every week, and so if they're in the 22, that's what we want from our cash generators back there.
Yeah, for sure. You got Ben Patton on the bench. We've spoken about him before, and also Luke Trainer. He looks lively, doesn't he?
He does. I loved what I saw of him. I didn't know if he was going to get a game because he came on late in that practice game against Collingwood, but he's been named to be in there now. If he starts sub, that might change. I don't know what we'll do then. I might have to pivot to somebody else, but for now, and at least that's the Thursday night game, so we'll know whether he's sub or not, and we can make that call when we get closer.
For sure. So there is our man's back 8. Sheasel, Zorko, Roberts, Perryman, Pryor, Reid, Patton, and Trainer. Before we move into your midfield, mate, we're going to give a shout out to our day ones. The people who have been with us since day one, the Standard Squeeze. Put in the promo code IFS2025, that's 2025, the year that we're in, to get yourself 15% off everything in store. They help you drink responsibly and conveniently. Now, mate, your midfield. I'm really looking forward to seeing this because you have gone the 4 primo defense. Let's go
Yeah.
with it, mate. You'll have to scroll down so we can see it. Yeah.
Yeah, just scrolling down now. This has probably been the hardest line for me to settle on, and I've changed it a million times. And I'm going to try to explain what my thinking is here.
Yeah, good.
I've gone really light for primo. So there's people going with Lockie Neal, and I wouldn't talk anyone out of Lockie Neal at M1. I think he's a great pick. I've settled in the end on Brayshaw. And the reason that I've done that is I've got a little bit of a strategy to bring Neil in after round 2, and I'll talk to people with what that is. So I've gone Brayshaw and Rosie as M1 and M2. I think Rosie, providing he's fit, that bump up of midfield time because of Butters not being there, and the nice draw that Port Adelaide have got, I think makes him very attractive at his price. Will Day, I've got in there, but I'm planning to use Will Day as my first trade, if you like. And when I say first trade, it won't be my first trade overall. It'll be my only planned trade. The others will all be dependent on what happens first week. But you remember I had the 150K in the bank. My plan for Will Day is to play him in week 1 and 2 and then trade him to Lockie Neal in week before round 3. The reason for that is I've got a feeling that Neil might get a bit of attention against the Swans this week.
Yep.
And I know that Day will get attention against Toby Bedford in round 3, and then he has the bye in round 4. So I'm going to use Will Day just as a really quick cash grab. He's going to make, if he averages 100 for the first 2 weeks coming up, he makes about 33 to 35 grand. Any more than that's a bonus, I think. And I'll then spend about 120 of my bank to get up to Lockie Neal for his dream run through round 3 to round 8. So that's my only plan to do a set trade. The rest of it will be dependent on corrections and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, gotcha. The Fremantle boy, Mr. Brayshaw, in your M1 there, that's interesting. And given that it's going to be 36 degrees in Geelong this weekend for that game against the Cats, and we've seen what hot weather and the first round of footy can do to a aging football club, Collingwood. So when we're talking about that, I know Geelong's a smaller ground and like they've got one of the more dominant home ground advantages, I guess, in the AFL. But with it being so hot, this could play right into Freo's hands because this is the weather they train in almost every day over there in Perth during the preseason.
Yeah, it's bloody hot over here, so they will be used to it. That's for sure. That won't bother them. I think. Look, I think the ground is a factor. The narrow ground is going to make a big sort of difference to Geelong maybe being able to cope with it a little bit better than most. But it's certainly not going to hurt Freo. Let's put it that way. Being a hot day.
No.
I did make the change. Yeah. Sorry.
The toe injury to Rosie?
Yeah.
I know they've come out and said he'll be fine, but the same thing happened last year with that hamstring, and he came out and he was shithouse, and then he ended up having more time off. And can you trust the Port Adelaide medical staff?
No, but I say this all the time. I don't worry too much about injury risk with my starting squad. Okay. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not picking 22 guys who are coming out of the medical room, but a couple of them don't bother me too much. Just because if Rosie goes down after a few weeks and I have to move him on, then so be it. I'll trade him out and he'll never be seen again for the year. I wouldn't like trading into a bloke who has injury history though, because then you get stuck with the trade in, trade out scenario. And I don't want to burn 2 trades on an injury bloke. So I've never been one to really worry about the starting squad injury prone guys. Some people do. And if that's how you focus your attention and you want to be safer in your starting picks, then that's an okay way to play. It's just never been one that I've worried about.
Yeah, for sure. We've spoken about Will Day a little bit. He was on fire the other night, but disclaimer, he's not going to get 6 frees for, 0 frees against. He's not going to kick 3 goals a game. Because you know what, Hurls? If he kicks 3 goals a game, 24 rounds, he wins the Coleman.
That's it. It's not going to happen. The beauty of 148 in his in his first price change is
Money.
that's there, right? It's now if my best laid plans, right, in SuperCoach, if he gets another 140 against Essendon on Friday night, which I hope he doesn't, but if he was, then my plan to trade him to Lachie Neale would almost go out the window, because why would I care about a Bedford tag then if he's got another 148 in his 3-week cycle? It's going to be a cash generator, which is what I want from that spot. So I think I said this to a few people today, go in with a plan of attack, but you've got to be nimble to what presents itself. If Will Day looks like he's, he gets tagged this week or he gets a 90, that plan will come off and I'll do it. But if he gets another 140 and 120 the week after, you'd be crazy to pivot him out and bring in Lachie Neale, because he'd be going at Lachie Neale type numbers. So why would I bother? So you just got to be a bit flexible with the way you go about it too.
Yep. Clayton Oliver, not much needs to be said. He looks like he's going to get back to his best.
Lock it in. He looked fantastic. So I think the beauty about Clary and even Petrarca, if people want to go there, with Briggs out for round 1, you're going to get a bit of silver service, I would imagine. So there's going to be a fair few hitouts to advantage to the midfielder's throat.
You reckon GWS are going to run with Keefe again, or do you think they try the untried Madden?
I don't think it would matter for Gawn. Like, he's going to monster either of them, right? So they'll probably, knowing that they won anyway, they'll probably go with Keefe, because is it one more week that Briggs will miss?
For now, yeah.
And then they got the bye after that.
Got the bye,
yeah. So I think they'll probably go with what they know. But I'm not close enough to know if Madden's ready, so I'm commenting without any real understanding.
Yeah, for sure. Which, a nice little segue, mate, into Finn Callaghan. So for me, he was probably the player of the week. I know there was only 2 games, but when we're talking about a consistent 4-quarter performance, Will Day was really good in the first half, but really quiet in the second half. He was held to 32 SuperCoach points and really had minimal impact on the game. Finn Callaghan, however, was everywhere all game, lacing out his forwards, the ball out of centre, inside and out. Yeah, he only had, 2 tackles and 9 contested possessions, but his game is on the outside, using his pace, using his size, using his ability to use the ball, his disposal efficiency. That's what he's good at. So for the haters that are saying, he's got no contested side to his game, neither does Sam Walsh. And look at him. Neither does really Nick Martin. Look at him. Like, there's a spot in this game for outside players, and Finn Callaghan, for me, when Tom Green comes back, could be even better, because he's got a premier inside bull that's going to feed it to him on the outside.
Yeah, and when Jesse Hogan comes back and someone can hold one of the marks that he sort of distributes too, right? I think Finn Callaghan, and I hate this saying in SuperCoach because everyone says it and it gets a bit overused, but like, I had that guy and he was a pod and now everyone's jumped on. Like, I mean, that's what the preseason is, right?
That's right.
Everyone jumps on that. So I don't want to, but Finn Callaghan's been someone I've been hot on before the weekend's game. Like Will Day, though, I'm not expecting 144s. The thing with SuperCoach is no one in the history of the game has averaged 144 for the year. The 144 by the maths tells you that there's going to be a 70 to balance it out somewhere. I don't think 100%. I don't think we need to sort of to get 144s from people every week. But the good thing about Callaghan, I feel, and the reason I'm putting him in, even though he's in for 1 week and then he has the bye, is I think he's going to be even better with Tom Green, as you said. And I think he's going to cop the occasional tag. The heat will come. That will happen. But if you think about the true taggers in the game, besides Sydney, the other main tagger is on his team, right? So he doesn't have to cop the Bedford tag. There's not too many real clamp down players besides Sydney and GWS now. There might be an occasional Saints one, an occasional...
Berry from Brisbane.
Yeah,
Willem Drew from Port, but they take usually the inside midfielders or the more influential people around the ball, Yeah,
so I think that is even more attractive for me. He just has breakout written all over him. We could be wrong. We're not going to get all these mid prices right. Let's be honest.
No, that's right. But if you hit 2 out of 3, awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
And at the very minimum, mate, at the 144 in the bank, that's just rolling in that cash gen, and you can use him as a stepping stone to go into someone else.
Absolutely. And he's got the week, he's got the bye, so he gets 2 weeks, then the week off, and then you don't have to make a call till the week after. So that suits as well. And then we've got the 6 rookies, if you want to call them that. I've gone for 4 expensive rookies and 2 basement price. I like that structure as well. Now, will the names change between now and Friday? Selection will determine that. I don't think the 4 expensive rookies are going to change. I think I'm set on those 4. And Camporelli's already said he's playing. So unless he was made sub, that would be the only thing that might change my mind. But I think he's got a wing spot at Carlton. Boxall is obviously dependent on team selection, and if he doesn't get a game, then that'll go to somebody else. But that structure I'm pretty set on.
Now, we did have some eyes down at Essendon training this morning. Elijah Zardes ended up finishing training in the red team, which is the 2s team.
Yeah.
Any cause for concern there?
No, it doesn't worry me, because the one game that I did get to go when I was down in Melbourne and I watched their match sim, the second half of that game, Zardes also moved from the A team to the B team. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's just trying some different matchups and some different things. The interesting thing for the selection of Essendon this week, particularly this week, is does Setterfield get a game?
Setterfield, I was going to ask you,
because of the structure around Newcomb and Day and Nash, who are, they've got big midfielders. Yeah. So that could be a challenge for Zardes this week, maybe. I don't think we're going to throw the whole preseason out the window and just go with one matchup, though. I think Zardes will be okay.
Yeah, gotcha. So we got Driscoll. He's going to play his wing role. He'll get some occasional CBAs as well. Mitch Nevitt, they've already touted him as being an inside midfielder there at Geelong. Levi Ashcroft, this kid's just going to be an out-and-out superstar, isn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't really hot on him all preseason, thinking that he's got huge sub risk and the role. Where was he going? But that practice match convinced me completely that he's going to be scoring enough when he's forward flank, because I think he's going to be dangerous even there. So he's in.
Awesome. Camporelli's he's debuting, and Boxall, he looked really nice in the preseason, didn't he?
He did. I think St Kilda's got. Yeah, he's got to have a spot there, I think, early on for the Saints. Now, I'm no Saints fan, but I don't necessarily think their midfield is very deep. So I'd be surprised if he wasn't amongst their debutants this weekend.
For sure. Before you move into your rucks, mate, we're just going to run through our Patreon video to give the people at home a bit of an insight as to what goes on behind the scenes.
Want to take your SuperCoach game to the next level? Inside Fantasy Sports are bringing you exclusive content all year round, such as weekly expert Q&As, team, trade, and captaincy advice, statistical deep dives, priority podcast questions, and tons more. So what are you waiting for? Get full access to the experts. Go to patreon.com/Insight Fantasy Sports and subscribe to Insight Unlimited today.
This year, inside of our Patreon, our man Hurls is going to be writing our buy, hold, sell articles for the week. Who you should be buying, who we think you should be selling, the players we think you should be holding, and also some captain's choices for the week as to who we think is going to go large. Hurls, your rucks, mate. How are we looking?
We're looking good in the rucks. We've made a change though. I had to inform poor Nank that he was in my team for 99% of the preseason, and he did absolutely nothing wrong. But I needed his cash, so he got booted yesterday. He was devastated. He was devastated. The poor man. He was devastated. But he was changed down to TDK. I think that 40 grand or 45,000 is going to come in handy, and I think TDK is going to go nuts for the first 6 weeks of Carlton's ridiculously easy draw. So that was influencing my decision there. Now here's another one that has maybe some injury risk. Maybe Shitnet comes back and he kills me here, but I don't think it's going to be a hard fix up if I have to move him. So that's why I've sort of settled there on TDK.
Yeah. Max Gawn, he's got a couple of real easy games to start with too, doesn't he?
He's got
Keith and Reedy from Freo back-to-back first 2 games.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that he makes you pay when you don't select him. Some primos you can get away with not owning them. Max doesn't fit in that category. Last year, people who tried to fade him thinking he's too old would have felt the force of that decision. And I think early on that's going to happen again this year. I don't think it's a bad idea if you want to think about the back end of the season and what you do with Max Gawn. I'm not saying you have to keep him all year, but while he's fresh and while he's got the draw that he has, he could. I mean, if Darcy Cameron got 166, I think it was against Lockie Keefe, what's Max Gawn going to do? Could be ridiculous.
Could be 200s. Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, that wasn't the reason that I'm picking him. I already sort of planned on starting him. But if you were umming and ahhing about Max Gawn in or out, I think the draw for the first few's got to be erring on the side of in rather than out.
Yeah, for sure. The pre-season form or lack thereof of Harry Boyd, especially in the last practice match, doesn't scare you at all?
Not really, because 99K, to be honest, I don't think there's been a season where I've necessarily cared much for cash generation out of R3. And so if he plays 15 games for the year, and the best time that I want him to play really is round 12 where De Koning's on a bye and round, I think it's 15 when Gawn's on a bye. I care more about him being in the team at those 2 weeks than I do about him for the rest of the year, to be completely honest, because I don't see myself fielding him much anyway. If he does and he makes a shitload of cash, then great, even bonus. We can trade him in later on and make some cash out of the pick, but I don't really care if he does or doesn't.
No, that's right. Before we move into your forwards, mate, for those of you that have or haven't yet got involved in Game Day Squad, we are running our own competition through their app this year. Use the code IFSAUS when you sign up to receive a 3x9 player common pack, thanks to the guys at Game Day Squad. But also, if you're part of our Patreon, which is a cup of coffee per month, you get free packs every Monday, but that's not all. You get free entry into the competitions to win free packs, but that's not all. Being part of our Patreon, you also get 3 free packs as well. It's money for jam, isn't it?
Free stuff. It's crazy not to want to get involved. I think I had a quick look at Game Day today in between tinkering with my SuperCoach team, and now that there's the 9 games, it's going to be really interesting how people structure up their team. Like putting together something for round 0 was obviously really restrictive with only 2 games in the end.
Yeah.
But now that we've got access to whichever cards we've got and they're all playing, it's going to be interesting how people divvy up which bronze players and which silver and which platinum you decide to field. It's could be really interesting little side competition too.
How did you go in the first week?
Oh, gee, I don't even know.
You don't even know?
Nah, I didn't even look.
No, you could have won, and you got no idea.
I don't think I won anything, or they would have let me know, wouldn't they? I haven't looked at that. I'll look it up while we're sort of going something later on, and I'll let you know.
Now, Dan's Dynamos on 2,391 our competition this week and would have received his $50 pack of cards in his inbox, courtesy of winning our league. Pythanio came second, and Stinking Hot, our man Plugger, came third, with Reece Webb coming fourth. I was 8th out of 50 people, so not the best week, but we'll bounce back this week.
How do you check this? Where you are? You click on.
You can go on your desktop. You go into Private League, and then you click on the Insight Fantasy Sports Comp, and the ladder will be there.
Oh, it says 0. Should that say 0?
No, probably not. That's all right. We can check it later.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's not good. It's not good live TV watching me stuff around on an iPad.
The beauty of Game Day Squad is it resets every week. So even if you finish last week, you're in with a chance to finish first this week. So unlike SuperCoach, you get a fresh start each week. Let's move into your forwards, mate.
Let's go to the forward line. So we've got again structurally, I've decided to go with 4 rookies, and then the inflated. I don't know. Do you call Garcia a high-priced rookie or a low-priced mid-pricer? I'm not sure. And then the 3 primos, even though they're priced along the spectrum. So I think most teams are going to have Pickles, McRae, and Daniel, right? They're a lock. The one decision I think most people are going to toss up with in their forward line is, do they go with Rankin as well to have the 4th of the top 6 potential keepers in the starting squad? I've chosen not to, even though I have mucked around with that a lot over the last few days, with having him in and having him out, and I think I've now decided to leave him out. So that's where I'm going to go.
Now, Jasper's done some research. You came 12th in that league last week.
Oh, did I? There you go.
Yep. And because of that, I'm giving out a free set of packs, or a free pack of cards, mate. So if anyone's quick enough, code's in the chat. Copy that into your Game Day Squad, and that's courtesy of us here at Inside Fantasy Sports, and also thanks to the guys at Game Day Squad. So you got Pickles, you got McRae, you've got Daniel. So McRae and Daniel, they should be near on 90% owned, shouldn't they?
Yep, should be. If anyone doesn't have them, they're either trying to, I don't know, maybe have a unique team to win a weekly prize somewhere along the line and stack something in a buy round or something so that they can fluke $1,000 Herald Sun win, or they're not really paying attention. One of the two.
No, that's right. That's right. Hugo Garcia is interesting.
Yeah.
How do you see this playing out? Because I can't bring myself around to picking him.
Yeah. Again, I like the role he had. I'm big on role over score. I think he only scored, 70-odd points in that practice game. The couple of things that I really liked was it looked to me like he was going to be the 3rd to 4th mid at St Kilda. So probably 4th when things wash out and they take out Wang out of there and they bring Sinclair in for Sam and all of that. He'll probably end up that 4th banana in there. And I think, look, I don't know if I'm being a bit of a dreamer here, but St Kilda can't be that bad every week, can they? So if they're competitive a bit more, that'll help all of their scoring, you would imagine. I don't know.
They'll be better with Marshall and Sinclair back this week.
Yeah, you would think so. So I think that's the role is what I'm attracted to here.
Okay.
Having said that, and this is where, again, one of my key things to my strategy with that 150K in the bank, let's say Day went 110, and Garcia sucked. Instead of using the 150 over there, I might go Garcia to maybe Colonel Sanders, who I've jumped off, who maybe I got wrong. Maybe he goes 90s, right? So I like having flexibility in my first 2 weeks of trading because I don't believe that I'll get everything right. And by spending every cent, I think you lock yourself into the corner of this is now my team, and the only way I unlock something is if I downgrade someone. By leaving a little bit of cash, yes, I'm conceding maybe a little bit of points in that first week, but I think the flexibility that it presents me in the first 2 weeks of trading, where I'm comfortable using 2 boosts and using 6 trades if need be, that's where I'll start to get my team exactly humming where I want it. And then that round 3 through to round sort of 8 or 9 is where I'll trust myself to be able to make up that ground I might have lost in round 1.
Yep. Now, I think we were discussing earlier in the pre-season about Sam Powell-Pepper, and quite a few people were a bit cold on the idea, but now that people are actually seeing the role and the ability that he could make some serious cash here, it doesn't sound as bad as first thought.
I hated the pick. I think I laughed at you, Horse, when you suggested it. I just don't like the role he plays. I don't like him very much either, which is probably something you shouldn't take into account.
No.
But I did. But what swayed me with Sam Powell-Pepper is 2 things. The look of the entirety of our rookies and their lack of job security, and Sam Powell-Pepper has high job security.
He does.
I think he'll play absolutely every week. And the fact that somebody did a little table on X about a week ago, and they put up if Powell-Pepper gets, I think they lidded 55 through to 70 over the first 7 weeks, and he made 140 grand. And when I saw that, I'm like, oh, hang on a second. That turned my attention a little bit because I think he can average somewhere in that 60 mark. And if it's more than that, it's a bonus. With the job security and the 140K that he's going to make at that 60 mark, that sort of swayed me to say, yeah, I think that's a safer play at F5 than some of the others that might be. Like, for example, is Connor Stone an option? Probably, but what happens if he gets punted after 3 weeks? There's risk on a lot of them, and so that's what has enticed me to pay up the little bit of extra for Pal Pepper.
Yep. Sam Davidson, F6 should be everyone's F5 or F6 really, or F6, F7, F8. I'd be playing him on field anyway. After the way he looked in that Bulldogs practice match, he was everywhere, wasn't he?
He was, and you'll see how I've structured up my forward line. I'm hoping that Hewitt isn't named, which is why I've got him, because I think he's going to play 17 to 20 games for West Coast this year, but I hope round 1 is the only one he misses, because I want to loop Caco's score from Friday night, and then I'll take off either a Davidson or a Pal Pepper, depending on how I feel for the rest of the weekend, with Hewitt getting a donut. If he's in, I'm not going to punt him because I really rate the Hewitt pick, but I'm secretly hoping he doesn't play because I just want. This is the only week we don't have a natural loop, and I'd even consider, to be honest, as we're talking about that, I'd even consider if the defender misses. What's his name now? The West Coast defender,
Bo Allen.
Bo Allen, even though I'm not hot on him, if he was a guaranteed 0 with good job security after week 1, I'd even consider him. If, for example, TDK as vice captain went 150, I would consider doing that as well. So that's for sure. That would be the play.
With now that you've just touched on that, with TDK's golden run to start the year, and with Gawn having a very favourable matchup in round 1, sorry.
Yep.
What would TDK need to get as a vice captain for you to take that loop this week?
Do you know what? I was thinking about that today and thinking, like, normally my threshold is 125. Any
Same
VC of 125 plus, and I lock them in. But with Max's opponent, I can't see him getting under 140. I just can't. And so I'd almost take the punt on anything 140 south of 140 this week, just because of the matchup Gawn's got. But my normal rule of thumb is 125.
125, yep.
Yeah.
On your bench, mate, you've got Caco and Hewitt, as you've just said. Caco, very exciting prospect for Essendon, being named this week, and hopefully will excite Essendon fans for years to come. Your flex, mate, are we going to see anything special here, or what have we got coming up here?
Well, depends what you call special.
Is this going to be the difference between you winning the 50K or not?
No one player is the difference between winning 50K or not. But in flex, I have where are we? We got Adam Chera. My plan for flex for the last 3 weeks, it hasn't changed. I want to maximize 12 midfielders. I think midfield's where it's at this year. I think there's a lot of risk in the forward line and the back line. I don't want to start with 3 premium rucks, even though later in the year I think that might be a play. And so I want to maximize the midfielders, and so I've put a 12th midfielder in here. So if you look at these in conjunction with the others, I've got Brayshaw is probably the only premium out of that. Rosie, Day, Oliver, Callahan, and Chera all as the mid prices that I want to really maximize. And then O'Driscoll, Sardis, Nevitt, Ashcroft as the expensive rookies that I want to maximize. So that's been my plan for probably the last 3 weeks. It's been a different name in there. The only reason Chera's name appears is because they play first. And so I'll put him in so that there's no late outs for one of my players later in the weekend.
Yep. And with Carlton having that really good run, Chera makes sense, mate.
Yeah.
I have noticed that there's no Finn O'Sullivan in your team. Now, have you seen anything in the news about where he's going to be playing? Finn O'Sullivan I'm talking about.
Look, I mean, I can only assume it's wing, but I don't know if that's changed. Throughout the preseason, they played him wing, and then there was a little bit of half forward, and probably even the West Coast game, it was probably still predominantly wing rolling back, which made him a little bit more attractive, I must admit, because he got back and helped the defence out. And that defensive winger can score if the game presents itself in the right way. I think it's just personal preference. I've chosen O'Driscoll over him as my most expensive one, and people might also go with Layla, right? It's you've got options here for these expensive rookies. I'm just going with O'Driscoll because of the extra couple of years in the system, and I think he's probably going to have a little bit better job security, and the way Freo use their wings. I trust the way Freo use their wings a little bit more than the way North might use theirs, but he's not a bad pick.
No, you're right. And with the likes of Luke Parker, Jai Simpkin, and these guys coming back into the side as well, like I see him, I went to watch 2 practice matches of Melbourne's, and our man Squiddy, he went to go and watch as well. And while we're talking about Squiddy, we've got to give him a big shout out here because he just became a dad for the first time, which is why we haven't seen too much of him. So to my man Squid, congratulations, brother. Proud of you. Love you, mate.
Congratulations, mate. Awesome.
Yeah, with
Archer was the name, wasn't
Archer,
it? He went with Archer.
Yep.
Great name as well.
Absolutely. Future North Melbourne legend, apparently.
There you go.
But with Foss, yeah, he played on a wing and played half forward, and he was in a rotation with Bailey Scott, Foss, and McKercher off a half forward flank. One would go to one wing, one would go the other wing, one would go forward, and they'd rotate off the bench with someone. And it was just that the whole game. So my fear with Finn O'Sullivan is if he gets stuck on the wing again, yeah, we've seen one, I'd call it a spike game, but I'd probably expect to average him averaging 75 out there on the wing. North Melbourne aren't known for using their wing as well, but also as a rookie, O'Driscoll's got 3-4 years in the system. He's got those pre-seasons behind him. He's got the body. He's got the tank for it. Finn O'Sullivan, not so much at the moment. If he's moved back to half back, then I'm more interested because we've seen what North Melbourne have done with McKercher and Sheasel and the likes in the past. But as a winger, I'm the same as you, mate. I'm tending to fade him until I see a role change there.
Yeah, and I think, like we've said a few times, you've got to be open to all of these. Anyone who's not a keeper, really, anyone who you're putting in as a rookie or a mid-pricer, you've got to watch the next 2 weeks, see what the role looks like, and is there any other roles that look better at the same kind of price point that mean you should do a correction trade. I don't think anyone should be adverse to doing that. Like, for example, if Sardis gets affected by Setterfield or something like that, I'm not going to be proud enough to say, no, I have to keep him. If he's got to go and it becomes O'Sullivan or it becomes Layla or it becomes even down to a 119K bloke and my structure changes slightly by taking one of those premium expensive rookies out for a basement price one, cash is king with your rookies. So the first 6 trades that you do, or not, maybe it doesn't have to be 6, but your first like bulk couple of trades, 4 to 6, should all be about getting your cash gen right. So if you've made an error in your cash generating players, fix it quickly.
We've got 40 trades. You could afford to do it.
Yeah. Cash gen's king.
For those of you that haven't yet, we've got a round 2 giveaway. We'd like you to enter. All you need to do is sign up to AFL and NFL on our Patreon, which is totally free. But also follow our 3 NFL men, IFS Maverick, Mullen _FF, and at DFAB _FFL. What do you win, might I ask, or might you ask? You win 2 tickets to the MCC area for the game Adelaide versus Essendon next weekend, not this weekend, the weekend after. But you also get a drinks package valued at $100. So all you need to do is go on Twitter, like those guys, or give them a follow, Maverick, Mullen, and DFAB. Sign up to the AFL and NFL for free on Patreon, and you go in with a chance to win. Again, it's that easy. You win and shit for free, Hurls.
Oh, can't go wrong. And people might, scoff at the game, Adelaide versus Essendon. Well, if you're having a few free drinks, who cares who's playing?
That's right. That's right. Do you want to zoom out, mate? And we'll go through your team, and then we'll attend to the questions in the chat.
Yep, can do that.
I'll let you run through it, mate, given that it's your side.
Let me go one more. Hang on. We'll zoom out one more.
You're right.
How's that? Can you see that now?
Yep, I can see it, but you can go through it, mate.
All right. So in the back line, we've gone the two expensive primos, Sheasel and Zorko. I've then gone 2 mid prices with the roles that I think are going to be conducive to some really good scoring, Perryman and Roberts. The 2 Essendon rookies that I think have the best job security of our defenders at the low prices, and then Patton and Trainer on the bench. So I've gone the four rookies in my back line. In the midfield, probably only one that I would consider a keeper at this point, which is Brayshaw, and then I've gone the mid-price madness option a little bit with Rosie, Will Day, Oliver, Callahan, and then obviously Chera in flex. So that adds to that mid-price list with the view of potentially one of those becoming Lockie Neal after 2 weeks. So that'll change my structure just slightly after the second week. And then I've opted for 4 of the expensive rookies, O'Driscoll, Sardis, Nevitt, and Levi Ashcroft, and then 2 basement price rookies in Camperelli and Boxall.
Yep.
In the rucks, Gawn and De Koning, with Harry Boyd on the bench. And then the forward line, the 3 popular guys with Horn Francis, McRae, and Caleb Daniel, which I think most of us are planning to be keepers, even though they're scattered in price throughout the different spectrum for the year. And then Garcia as that sort of a bit expensive rookie to low price, mid price, depending on how you want to view him, to see if he can get the 75 to 85 I'm looking for from that price. And if he can, he'll stay until he makes me the 150. If he can't, in the first few weeks, he might be punted relatively quickly. Sam Powell-Pepper for his job security. Davidson, Kako, I think, speak for themselves in the job security stakes, as well as scoring a bit of a spiky score maybe from those 2, but I think they're both going to play every week. And then Elijah Hewitt, that I'm secretly hoping doesn't get named round 1 so that I can use him as a loop. But if he does, I like him anyway. I think he's going to play a lot of games for West Coast this year. And then in my flex, as I mentioned, Chera joins the other mid prices in the midfield, just trying to take advantage of Carlton's ridiculously easy run. And I think if I was to put a little wager, I reckon he'll be the first mid pricer to get to a fallen primo, because I think his cash gen is going to be really quick.
I love that. That's really good insight by you, mate. Before we kick off on the questions, mate, we're going to throw out our Unlimited League. We've got 940 in there at the moment, so we only need 60 more. And what happens when we get 60 more? We reach 1,000 and we give away free shit again. So all you need to do is put in the code 356460. I repeat, 356460. It is free to join. If you get the top score each week, you win a prize pack thanks to the guys at the Standard Squeeze. But also, if we get the league to 1,000, I'm going to give out a random prize pack to someone in the league, just as our way of saying thank you. So again, Hurls, more free shit.
More free shit. And just to add to the free shit that we'll give away this year, Horse, if you join our Patreon, what we're going to run this year, many of you will know who are already in our Patreon that I have written a buy planning article. I like to really attack the buys. I also did a great. I had a great pleasure of joining Pig for Dr. Supercoach and talking about the buys on one of his podcasts a couple of weeks ago. So what I've decided to do as part of the Patreon this year as well is, if you're in Patreon, you don't have to do anything different. I'm going to run a little buy competition over rounds 12 to 16, and we'll give away some prizes for the person who gets the most points over those buy rounds. Plus, we'll give a prize to someone who improves their ranking by the biggest percentage. So it doesn't exclude people who are down the bottom. If you're 10,000th and you jump to 5,000th, well, you've improved your ranking by more than someone who's gone from 51st to 40th, right? So we'll try to get 2 prizes away there. But just to focus in a little bit on what are people doing over those 5 bye weeks, 12 to 16 this year.
Yep, and apparently, Wowee Hurls, smart and good looking. What can't he do?
I thank you. I'm very humbled. I'm not sure if you're joking and taking the piss, but it's all good.
You're going about as red as the, I don't know, tomato, mate.
Yeah.
He doesn't take compliments well there, man, does he? But anyway.
Not at all.
We're going to get stuck
in. Do you want me to stop sharing the team while we do this horse?
Nah,
or what's
keep it up so people can
leave
see
it up?
what it is.
Okay.
Let's go with some questions.
It's question time. Let's answer your questions for the week ahead.
So Puma, our man from Mavro, he's got the same back six as you, except Whitfield and Zorko. So,
Love it.
yeah, would you say
Love
he's
it.
smart?
Yeah, I
Maybe.
think he's very smart. I think Whitfield round 2 bye is all you need to manage there. But if you're comfortable to have him missing the round 2 so that you can structure your team elsewhere, I think I was probably, and just to give you a bit of insight, I really did like Whitfield as D2 when Zorko had the round 3 bye. But just because he now doesn't have the bye, I think for me,
Getting an extra
Zorko
game. Yeah,
is the extra game. But no problem with Whitfield.
spot on. Is that score going to be consistent from Roberts? That's Jasper's concern with him. Our man Jasper, firmly within our Patreon, mate. And last year represented Australia in tennis in Italy. So, legend of a man Jasper is.
So we've got talented people everywhere.
Really?
Is he scoring 124, Jasper? No, I don't think so. I think for Roberts, I'm going to budget for somewhere around the, let's call it 95 mark. And I think at 434,000, if he averages 95, he makes me the 70 to 80K that I'm looking for out of that stepping stone. And then he becomes a Whitfield, or he becomes a Nick Martin, who I would love to start, but now just can't because of the two Essendon rookies on the same line. So he'll be a stepping stone for me. So to be successful, I want 90 to 100, probably closer to the 100, but not 124, no way.
For sure. From Chris, another man within our Patreon, who do you think gets the vest for Essendon this week?
It's hard without seeing the team.
Yeah, if Ben Hobbs gets named, I can see him with the vest.
Yeah, I think Hobbs is a big candidate. Now, this is depending on whether Setterfield is in. So if you take the practice game where Setterfield wasn't in the 26, and you just extrapolate the ones who were in the 26, and then what changes might come, I think Hobbs is most likely. The other one who could be a sub candidate, who I probably hope isn't, but Archie Roberts could be, because now Redmond comes back in, and Redmond plays with our man Pryor. And if that's the back seven, Roberts might be the one that they put as a sub. Toss up between maybe those two.
Yeah. Do you think we've convinced Corey Blackledge to have a rookie at D5?
No, but I don't want to convince you either, Corey. I think what the biggest sort of piece of advice I can give anyone around structure is play the structure that you are comfortable with. My structure isn't the right structure. It's just my structure. And so I am very comfortable getting 60s or 65s out of Pryor and Reid to be able to play that 12 midfield stack that I've chosen to invest in. If you want to go 5 deep in your defense and play, a less mid-price midfielder because you don't trust the defensive rookies, there's nothing wrong with that at all either.
Yep, for sure. Our man Deadly, he avidly enjoys Harley Reid Essendon propaganda. For those that didn't see before we went to air tonight, Mitch Cleary released a little article that showed that West Coast are going to put before Harley Reid a contract extension. If he decides to sign, then he'll sign, obviously. But if he doesn't, Essendon are the front runners with his history with the Essendon VFL, and his girlfriend, the sister of Xavier Dersma. Yeah, so we'll wait and see what happens there. For those of you that have been watching the show for 12 months, I've said in the past that I feel like if he ever comes back to Victoria, Essendon would be the front runners. I still hope that's the case.
You might want to change some of the training habits, though, Horse. Did you see Simo's comments about him not necessarily doing the extra work, which I found fascinating? It's saying when the ball, like for example, he's the gist of what he was saying was when he's training, he's an animal, manic, but he isn't yet doing all the recovery stuff, the ocean swims, the things you have to do as a professional. Given Brad Scott's stance with Stringer, you'd want to make sure he's on board with that kind of stuff, or it'd be interesting.
100%. 100%. Kizza has got exactly the same midfield as you.
Kizza is someone who I think is a punter like me, so that doesn't surprise me in the slightest.
Yeah. No. Corey's come out and, Gawn has Reedy and Keefe back to back. We did mention that earlier. Chris Davis is saying Doherty is sub this week. Is that right?
I haven't seen that, but it could happen.
That's really good for our Camprialis and
Campriali,
Cooper going that way and however else you'd like to go.
Absolutely.
The Wilson family, thank you for joining us again, mate. Thoughts on Bailey Smith? Do you want to go first or do you want me to go first on this one?
Yeah, I feel like we at Insight have influenced our community against Bailey Smith. Most of us don't like him. And I want to say this to the Smith family and anyone else who wants to start Bailey Smith. Start him if you think he's going to play. Chris Scott said on 360 on Monday night he's definitely playing, so don't worry about the injury stuff. He's in. I just don't know what I'm going to get from him, and I don't know whether there's going to be some games throughout the year that they rest him because he's got coming off that year off and all of that. So for me, I'm not really hot on Bailey Smith, and I feel like we've influenced far too many people down that path.
Haven't we?
He'll still be a good pick though, right?
Yeah. Do I think that he's going to set the world on fire early? Probably not. But do I think that he'll be a good player and potentially a top 10 forward by season's end? Probably. But I think that I can spend that money elsewhere, i.e. on rookies that are going to make me cash quicker, and primos through my defense and midfield who are going to score better, and I can go back and get Smith at a later date without having to break the bank to bring him in.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess put it this way. If Smith comes out and scores 110, there's every chance that I go Garcia to Smith because that will be a much easier path to Rankin from Smith's cash gen than anything else that I've got. So I'm not saying I hate him. I just, at the moment, I don't trust his cash gen enough to start him. But if he looks like he's going to get me to Rankin quickly, he'll probably be in my team in 3 weeks. So I don't want to diss him too much.
Yep. Another man that was inside the top 50 with you for long spurts last year. Nice squad, Hurls. He misses Nank, though.
I really want to start Nank. I really do. But I had to punt him. He was shattered, the poor man, Nank, when he found out he wasn't going to be part of the team. I think Nank is a great pick and he's a pod. I just have saved the 50 grand. That was the only rationale for me going down to TDK.
Yep. Thomas Jack brings up a good point here. It's only 60K difference between Callahan and Smith.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that in the end was some of the rationale for my picks. I wanted to target that mid-price midfield group this year, which I really like a lot of those players. And I'm less keen to target those mid-price forward. You'll see I was hot on Sanders all the preseason, and I've even jumped off him just because of where they sit, and I want more of the mids.
Yep. Would you captain Cherry or Gawn this week? This is again from the Wilson family.
I don't have Sherry, so it's an easy decision for me.
If you had both.
Who's Sherry playing?
Western Bulldogs, Tim English.
Oh, yeah, you can captain either comfortably. I would probably, if I had the choice and just having a quick squeeze at the fixture, I think Melbourne Sunday. Yep, so I would vice captain Sherry and then bring in a donut for his 150 and captain Gawn as my backup would be my plan if I had those two, just like I'm doing with TDK and Gawn.
So Cherry has gone back-to-back 141-point games against Team English.
Yeah. Ruckman score against English. He will score. But I'd VC him because it's Saturday night. And you've got the bonus. And just keep an eye out on the teams. If you've got one of those two West Coast blokes not in the team because I think one of them's sick and one of them had a bit of an injury interruption, Bo Allen and Elijah Hewitt are easy red dots because they'll become green dots quickly.
Spot on. Just going through the comments here. Thomas Jack is tossing up between wanting to go Ashcroft, Callahan, and Day. Two with good scores under their belts, but love the Lions fixture. Can't argue with that, can you?
Nah, I said this at the start of the when Team Picker first came out, I identified the 6 mid-price midfielders that I thought would shape everyone's team. Now, some of the names have switched because Darcy Parish got injured and he's been replaced with Finn Callaghan probably out of the 6. But this is your sweet spot, and which ones you pick will make or break your early run. And what I mean by that is, if you look at Will Day, Clayton Oliver, Finn Callaghan, Adam Chera, Will Ashcroft, Peatling, don't discount him either. He's still in the mix. He's a bit cheaper. Yeah. Out of those, if you pick the right 3 that you don't have to trade out of, you're going to be flying. And if you pick the wrong 3, you're going to have to do some correctional trades to get to the right spot. They won't all pop. The chances of all 6 or 7 of them going where we think they will is unlikely, but 3 or 4 of them will. And so getting the right ones, and I can't steer you into which one because I don't have a crystal ball, but getting the right ones, I'm hoping I've picked the right ones in Day, Oliver, Callaghan and Chera, but sure. Will Ashcroft's got a great draw, so he could be good as well.
For sure. Another thing for Archer Reid, his best mate, Harley Reid, he's best mates with Caddy as well. 2 foot, welcome, mate. Good to see you this Arvo. See the Macca's Wi-Fi is kicking in on Hurls.
Macca's Wi-Fi is going a treat tonight. Touch wood.
Another one from 2 foot. He's got his set on my flex, and I think it's a good one. Don't like the player, but he'll fix some loops with Patton, Holmes, and his inefficient disposals will do. Does that mean he's got Holmes or?
Don't like the player, but he'll. I can't. Put that back up. But he'll fix some loops with Patton, Holmes, and his inefficient. If it's Holmes that is the flex, there's nothing wrong with that pick. But
yeah.
Yeah, I think that is a good pick. Whether you put him there or whether you put him in your defence, neither here nor there to midfield. Me. But or your midfield or whatever. Yeah.
The Aiden Star, thanks for joining us, mate. Are you sure about starting a loop early though? For me, I'm happy with Elijah Hewitt because Minnie's come out and said that he's going to be in the best 22. So even if he's not right this week, he's going to play. And if TD Gay pops off and goes 160 and you need to find a loop player somewhere, I'm happy for it to be Elijah Hewitt this week, knowing that he's going to play in the coming weeks.
Yeah. I think it's a really good question. If
it is.
TD goes 120 on Friday night or even 125, like I said, then I probably won't have a loop. I'll go for the 31 green dots, and I'll change Hewitt to probably Connor Stone, I think will be the one. Okay. But it just depends on whether I need to take a VC score.
For sure. Jonas, our man, welcome, mate. Callaghan can be bought in without a price rise after his round 2 bye. Spot on.
He can. Yep. If that's part of your play and part of your strategy, nothing wrong with that either. I think have a plan for that if that's what you want to do.
Braden Dunstan, g'day, mate. Welcome. Deadly. Hurls, I need your opinion on Matt Rowell.
Oh, this is a tough one. I really like it. I couldn't do it just because of my structure, but he's gonna destroy West Coast. Let's be honest. In round 1, he then has the round 2 bye, so that turned me off a little bit picking him. But if we remember last year, while he was fresh, he was a beast, and he was scoring ridiculous scores for the first 7 or 8 weeks until he shit the bed and everyone jumped on, or everyone who had him hated him, and everyone jumped on him and then had to jump off him. So I wouldn't talk you out of Matt Rowell if you're comfortable with that round 2 bye and you want to go different, because I think he's gonna start the season well again. And he looked like in pre-season he probably had a little bit more to his transition game, which was good to see.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely something that he needed to work on.
Yeah.
Jonas again. What do you think about the strategy picking 5 primo mids? If one fails, trade down to Callaghan and bank the cash after his round 2 bye.
Yeah, don't mind that either. I guess you've got to weigh up if you go the 5 primo mids, and I don't know who you're counting as primo, whether you're counting Rosie and Oliver or not. You just got to see what it does to the rest of your team. it's all about balance. You can only pick about 9 primos across your whole team, and you've got to pick about, maybe 16 rookies. And so where you choose to put them, I'm not going to argue with anyone. Just because I put them in one spot doesn't mean it's right. It's just have a view, right, and go with it.
Mm-hmm. I like this from 2 Foot. Apparently, Viney's come out stating that he's going to wear Callaghan like a shirt.
Yeah, good luck. Viney's not quick enough for Callaghan.
No. I reckon I'm quicker, and I've got one good hamstring.
Yeah, Melbourne aren't a tagging team. Melbourne are a more numbers at the source team, and GWS have got their half forwards that are so quick. I can't see him stopping Callaghan. Good
luck keeping up with the likes of Darcy Jones. That man makes fast people look slow. He is so fast. And now that Alex Neil-Bullen's gone from Melbourne, who's going to tag?
They won't. I don't think they will. I think they'll trust. They're a contest defense footy. Goodwin says it all the time. Footy team, so they will trust. They've got a massive advantage with Gawn in the ruck, so they'll trust Petrarca, Oliver, Viney to win the footy, not to stop someone. They'll hope that they can win territory, and then they'll set their screen so May and Lever, will press up. That's how they will try to win the footy game. They won't worry about tagging, and GWS will try to run it through with their mosquito fleet. It'll be a fascinating, because it's a different contrasting strategy between those two teams.
Deadly, Judd McVee is not going to tag, but he might be the best tagger Melbourne have right now.
Judd McVee.
Ed Langdon? No, I don't think so. Ed Langdon's not the tagging type.
I'm fascinated to see what they do with Ed Langdon. He had a lot of CBAs in the practice game. I don't understand it. I really don't. He's who I consider the prototypical winger. He's perfect for the wing. He holds width. He gets back in defence. He plays the dead side perfectly. And moving him into the middle, I think, will be detrimental to their whole ball movement. So I can't see why they're bothering. I'd go Rivers into the middle over him, but I'm no premiership coach like Goodwin, so far be it from me to tell him what to do.
For sure. Anything else you'd like to add before we knock off for the evening, mate?
No, I think it's been good to finally settle on a structure. I can't wait till Thursday starts so that I don't tinker anymore. I think I'm now at the point where the only tinkering I'll do will be rookie dependent. So what the teams tell me and whether I need to make some tweaks around the edges, but I can't see any premium changes from now. I can't see any mid-pricer changes. It'll just be the tweaks around the rookies that I'll settle on. And for those, for those who are Patreons, you'll see all of our teams before the first bounce on Thursday. We'll post them, so you'll see if there's any last-minute changes based on selections and things like that.
Yep. Now, you've been an absolute asset to the Insight community over the preseason, mate, and we thank you for that. I'm going to give you a choice now as to whether we run a live show during the footy Richmond versus Carlton on Thursday night. If you say yes, we're going to run the live. If you say no, then we don't.
Are we doing a live tomorrow night?
We are doing a live tomorrow night too.
So selfishly, I'd say I want to watch the footy on Thursday night, although it is Carlton and Richmond.
Yeah. They can have us on in the back. They can have us on in the background. You can watch the footy.
We can do it. I think as long as everyone's comfortable with I am a very rational footy watcher.
Yeah.
But I am very irrational when it comes to Carl Scum. I can't stand them more than any other team, and I am very irrational about them. So, the missus said no in the chat. She doesn't.
She's already saying no.
She'll be at footy training.
Yeah. Looks like it's gold. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first. Let's do a live Thursday night while the footy's on. We'll have a bit of a chat during the footy and see how we go. But, mate, on behalf of the Insight community, thank you for your articles you've been putting in the Patreon, your thoughts, your opinions, your data, your analysis. You've been an asset to us. We've really appreciated having you around. Look forward to working with you this year, mate.
Thank you. Thanks for giving me the opportunity. I've loved it. The season's about to start, which will get a bit more now into the rigors of what do you do trade-wise. This is the fun bit. The first sort of, now until the buys are really where you make your season and you can trade, and that's the fun part. So yeah, I hope everyone starts their season off to a flyer. And even if you don't stress, it's fixable. You can still recover after 1 or 2 weeks. 100%. So
you started 50,000th last year?
70,000th after round 1 last year.
And you got as high as 34th.
32nd after the buyers.
There you go.
It takes aggressive trading if you start that badly, though. So I don't want to start that badly again. But it's not the end of the world. As long as you sort of know what you're doing around your correctional trades. They're the critical. The first 6 or 7 trades are the most important that you are ever going to do, because they will be all about cash gen or jumping off the right blokes and on the right blokes. They're the key. More than our starting squad, I think the first 6 trades will make or break you.
100%. Thank you, mate. Below me is Hurls. On the horse. We're going to be back tomorrow night where we talk through round 1. Plenty to get through tomorrow night. Don't miss us. We'll be live from 8 o'clock Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time. We'll bring the stubbies. We'll bring the banter. We'll also bring the footy knowledge then. But for tonight, we'll catch you then. Cheers.